G'day guys and welcome back today to another video on the Drewzy channel. 9 things we learned from round 15. Let's crack into it, boys and girls. The last of the bye rounds, the second half of the season is going to be in full swing after this round of footy, ladies and gentlemen. As it stands, we are about 80 subscribers away from 10,000 subscribers. So once we hit 10k, which is hopefully this week on my 23rd birthday, it's going to be a massive celebration. It's been a long time in this YouTube game, and I hope you guys appreciate the content. So if you aren't subscribed and you want to join the Plonker Army, hit that subscribe button, leave a like on the video, and comment down below what you learned from this round. Let's get into it. Number 1. Carlton are as real as it gets. As much as I hate to admit it, Carlton are looking the absolute goods at this point in the season. That win against Geelong was emphatic. They didn't put a foot wrong. Couldn't fault the performance whatsoever. Their midfield dominated all night long. Their handball game got going. It looked like a training drill at times, which just shows how well drilled this team is. The goals that they were kicking, they were just composed. Everyone was popping up for a goal. You got guys like Chin Cotter coming into the side, who's that sort of Alex Neil-Bullen, Sam Switkowski type half forward that plays a defensive role, then pops up for a goal. I've said it before, but when your role players are popping up and having big performances when they're just coming into the side, it just shows that the culture and the system is thriving. Tom De Koning was incredible, outclassed his brother Sam in the ruck, which was a fun contest to watch. Could Tom De Koning be an All-Australian ruck this year? Like, maybe not. Maybe I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, but man, he has been so impressive this season. That's the first time I've seriously watched Carlton and been scared by what they can do, because at times they've, not given a full four-quarter performance of their best, but that was truly their best. A high-octane four-quarter performance of electric footy. They're going to be so hard to stop in September. Watch out. They've put the competition on notice. Number 2, Port's pretender status is completed. They were outworked, they were outclassed, and to be honest, they were outcoached against the Brisbane Lions. When you've got Connor Rozee, Zach Butters, and Jason Horne-Francis in the midfield, there's no reason that they should just be getting absolutely dominated out of the middle. So I think that's got to go down to coaching and method that was applied to this game. And it happens sometimes. It happened Freo against the Bulldogs last week. The midfield just didn't perform and got outclassed, but it just feels like the writing is on the wall for Ken Hinkley. It's been a long time at Port Adelaide. And when you're getting absolutely belted by a side at home, when there's no reason that you shouldn't just not show up in front of your home fans, especially in the position that they're in, it just reeked, that loss. Ken Hinkley got booed off the field. I think that shows you what the Port fans want. And once you've lost the fans, you're probably not far off losing the players as well. It's the first time I've looked at Ken Hinkley and just thought, the players aren't playing for you there, coach. I like Ken Hinkley. I like, what he's brought to Port Adelaide, but it's just fallen short so many times. I feel like we've seen this before. I think he's contracted to the end of next season, but after a loss like that, it does bring into question whether you want to continue with this guy. Number 3, the Lions have their roar back. The next 3 are pretty easy as well, the Lions. They got Melbourne at home, the Crows at home, and then West Coast. So they're going to be hard to keep out of the 8. Dunkley, Neal, and McCluggage, they're all starting to hum out of the middle. And some of their young players are really impressive at the moment as well. Jasper Fletcher, who was a first-round draft pick in last year's draft, I believe. He was massive against Port Adelaide. And young Logan Morris, the big 6'4" forward, clean below his knees. Just put on a clinic. So it's good to see that they're getting some young players to come through and play their role. Will Ashcroft coming back next week after a long absence out of footy is only going to strengthen them as well. So they're in a really good spot, the Lions. Danaher and Hipwood had massive games as well. And I know Port Adelaide were very, very far from their best, but Hipwood and Danaher have been in good form for the last month. So their twin towers are starting to hum. Charlie Cameron hasn't had his best season, but you'd back him to get back to his best at some point later in the year. The Lions are well and truly back. They're going to be hard to stop, and they're going to be a hard beat for any side for the rest of the year. Number 4, Sydney are 10 out of 10 good. Sydney have won their last 10 games, and they made the Giants look just like a level below, particularly in those middle 2 quarters of the game. Everyone's starting to think Sydney versus Carlton grand final. That's what the 2 best teams in the AFL are starting to look like right now. But I think the difference between Sydney and Carlton on the weekend is that Colton did it at home against a struggling Geelong side in perfect conditions. Sydney made GWS look second-rate away from home in the wet. That just shows how good Sydney are. They're 3 games clear on top with a very healthy percentage. They're just so polished in the execution of their skill. In the wet, there's a bobbling ball. Errol Gordon picks it up with one hand, snaps it into Chad Warner, running into the sort of junction of the 50 and the boundary line. He just goes back and slots it. Will Hayward's set shot goal kicking is just clinical. Just the polish of this team. They've got their system completely working the way that they want to. And then just to see the final touches to it, it's just like watching art, Sydney, at the moment. And Freo have them next week. I'm actually kind of excited to play Sydney, to be honest. It's a bit of a free hit. We played well in parts against them at Optus, even though they pumped us on the XG. We had higher XG than them in that game, just were not clinical in front of goal. Let's see how Freo match up against Sydney. You got to beat the best to be the best. So let's be having your free hit at the SCG on Saturday. Number 5. North ball is coming. Rebuilds start from the middle of the ground. And I think Cherry's been great this season. Hitting it down to LDU, Wardlaw and Sheasel is a recipe for success for the rest of North's rebuild. For such a young midfield group to go up against the veterans of Gawn, Viney and Clayton Oliver just shows how much talent that these guys have, because they probably got the better of the Ds on the night out of the middle. And even last week against Collingwood in that first sort of 2.5 quarters, North's midfield was all over the likes of Nick Dacos, Jack Crisps, etc. Crisps. I said crisps. They're not the English chips. He's number 25 for Collingwood. You know what I'm saying. Like we were saying about Sydney, how they're the complete product, how they've got that polish at the end. North just don't have that. They have the fight. You can see the hunger that they have to win at the moment. But just late in games, they're just a little bit messy, a little bit chaotic. But watching LDU and Wardlaw in particular these last couple of weeks has been mouth-watering. They're slowly getting better. 2 agonising losses, but the effort's there, which you can't say about basically the last 3.5 years of footy. So promising signs for North in the last month of footy. They're slowly getting there. Number 6, Trent Rivers as a mid. That is hot. With Petrarca out, I feel like the Ds lack a little bit of X factor in their whole squad, really. Obviously, you got Max Gawn, who's a veteran. He goes about it. He's one of the all-time greats. But Christian Petrarca was really the guy that made things happen for them going forward. So in his absence, Trent Rivers spent more time in the midfield, kicked a really nice goal. I think he had 24 touches. I like Trent Rivers a lot in the middle. He reminds me a lot of Luke Hodge, and I've said that from the first year that he played footy. Clayton Oliver had 14 touches. That man's lack of preseason and just off-field misdemeanors have caught up to him. He is so far off his best at the moment. It's not something I learned, but I think the D's just got to think about trading him at this point. Whilst his value's still high, maybe you get another preseason into him and he comes back firing. But I think that midfield is getting a little bit jaded. No Petrarca, no X Factor. Clayton Oliver's so far from his best, and Jack Viney can only do so much. Trent Rivers goes in there. That is good. I like that, but definitely needing a reshuffle in the middle of the park, the Ds. Number 7, it's now or never for the Dons. The Dons finished this round in the top 4, and they're playing probably the best football that they've played in the last decade. I don't want to sound like a hater, Essendon fans, but looking at the wins that you've had, aside from the Giants, it has not been too convincing. And I could probably say the same about Freo, to be honest. When you finish lower on the ladder, you get an easy run. I looked at Essendon's run for the rest of the season, and you should finish in the top 8 if you can maintain this form. If their midfield continues to click the way it is, there's no reason that they shouldn't finish in the top 8. I just haven't seen it against a genuine top 8 side yet, except for that Giants game. And the Giants have been, sort of up and down with form. I don't want to hate on your Essendon fans. I just don't know if you're really that good, but I don't think you're really that bad at the same time. Finish the season strong, get into finals, and then we'll see what minerals you're truly made of. Number 8, the young talent are now Freo's pillars. You guys know me, biggest Freo nuffy in the world, been a Freo member for a long time. Watching these guys get drafted and now start to flourish is just so nice to watch. Watching Hayden Young play against Gold Coast today, kicking 3 goals, getting 24 touches, just putting on an absolute clinic was just so satisfying. You see Heath Chapman come back into the side, didn't put a foot wrong today, intercept machine, tackled hard. His positioning was outstanding. And when we went up against the Bulldogs, he was meant to be the guy that sort of stopped the Bont coming out of the front of stoppages, because you could see how important he was today against Gold Coast. Let's talk about Josh Tracy. He only kicked 2 goals, but his physicality that he brought up forward to take 7 marks. He was bumping blokes off the ball. 21 years old, but he plays like an absolute man. You see the likes of Jordan Clark come into the league and you see glimpses of what he can do as a youngster. Now he's 23 years old, still extremely young. and the things that he's doing, taking runs from half back to half forward and hitting up Brayshaw for that goal, just his intercepting, the speed that he provides, and he's now doing it week in, week out. And the last one, Caleb Sarong. I mean, he's already been an All-Australian player. He's 23 years old, but just so slick, so clean. When the game was sort of going in the way of Gold Coast, he just turned it up a gear, knew what to do to ice the game and set up O'Meara for the winning goal. It's just so satisfying to see these young guys that have been getting developed over the last few years. We speak about them as superstars because they already are, but they are now the drivers of this Freo side. It wasn't the most clinical and most memorable win ever, but it's just so nice that you can rely on these guys that we've gotten out of the draft. So satisfying. And number 9, where is the Darcy hate this week? Sean Darcy had a career-high 12 clearances. He had 39 hitouts in a great battle against Jared Witts in the ruck. He covered the ground well. He kicked a goal, got 20 touches. Where is the hate this week? It's easy to hop on him when he's not playing well and saying he's out of fitness and his body shape isn't that of an AFL player. But when he plays the way that he does, got over 100 fantasy points, one of our most important players on the day, set up goals, got out the front of stoppages, did so many good things. Where are the pundits now? Where's the hate now? Yes, we may need to see it in bigger games, but Sean Darcy was back to his best today. I think it's important that we recognise that because he's an elite ruckman on his day. We just need to see it more consistently. But just get off the man's back and let him cook. His preseason was interrupted with injury. Obviously, it's easy to say, yeah, Luke Jackson should play more ruck when we've got both of them. But at the end of the day, we have 2 of the best young rucks in the competition in the same side. Luke Jackson can do it all. Didn't have much of it today, but did good things. Darcy played more ruck, and Darcy was one of the best on ground for the Dockers. Don't forget how good this bloke is. And that's going to wrap it up for this video. But before you click off, if you could leave a like, I would appreciate that greatly. Comment down below what you learnt from this round of footy. And subscribe if you're new so we can hit 10K ASAP. More content coming out on the channel this week, a mid-season All-Australian prediction, and more content to continue to flow for the rest of the season. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care, you plonkers.